Good evening. Welcome to this gathering in July. I am coming to you from Portugal tonight. So, as I've put in the chat, should there be any issues with the internet connection, please rest assured that we'll have everything recorded in good quality. And if need be, we'll upload the video to YouTube. If the recording there is faulty, we'll upload the recording to YouTube later on. Right now, the internet connection is good. Just as I was getting ready for this, it was sort of in and out, so we'll see how it goes. So, welcome to this month's gathering that revolves around the 3 levels that are so important in Jin Shin Jyutsu. Bust line, waistline, hip line, 13, 14, 15. We talk about it all the time, and we think we know what they are, and we often don't know a fraction of just how powerful they are and how powerful an understanding of them is when we open all areas of our lives up to the area, the level that has you reach out to the world in body, mind, and spirit. The part of you, your body, your being, that has you process and digest everything about the world out there, the world in here, and what that means to your life. And finally, the physicality of existence. So 13, 14, 15, summarized in that way, the physicality of existence, the landing in this moment, the being in the now, but more importantly, steeped in the experience of the now and learning to be increasingly able to stay in it. You know, when we hear about 13 bust line as spirit, 14 waistline as mind, and 15 hip line as body, we think, oh yeah, 15's the body, and we miss the last point I said about the hip line, that it is my ability to increasingly stay present to the sensing part of being in an experience. Stay increasingly present to the actual experience of being in the moment. It's not just sensing in the traditional sense of taste and touch and smell and sight and hearing, but everything else that has to do with what you feel, the being present in all your 5 physical senses, your 6th sense, your whole felt sense of being here, but also your awareness taking in the moment, that precious moment when you realize you don't need to flee, you don't need to escape from anything or to any place. So, let's get into a juicy feeling exercise. For that, sit there with eyes open or closed, whatever helps you to best listen into your body and take your sensory awareness inside. Maybe eyes closed will be most useful for most of you out there. And bring your sensory awareness to the inside of your chest, bust line, the inside of your chest. Feel the upper portion of your chest from within. So it isn't a tension from your head, from your mind, that is reaching down into the chest. It's literally your sensory awareness that goes right down there. Inhabits that area from inside and lets you take in the flavor of what lives there what's alive there, what's at home there. If you find any mental associations you have with that area come up, if you have any theoretical associations like, oh, I think that's my heart chakra, let those go for the benefit of what it is you are sensing and possibly for what moments of your real life experience that's calling up. Perhaps as you let sensory awareness inhabit your body at this level, you find yourself feeling yourself, relating to yourself as a child, possibly at a young age, running towards someone or something with great excitement. Perhaps this area evokes joyful memories and recollections of reaching out to the world. Anything that comes up from the rich depths of body memory is very, very welcome. And anything that comes and offers its input from the shelves of mental categories, concepts, and things you have learned is asked to kindly wait outside for the moment. You can hear it, feel it being there. So the mind wants to tell you something it's read, heard, learned, or believed, or seen in representations concerning the bust line, but you just go back to sensing your chest area from within, and from that sensing awareness place, you allow body memory to come up if it does. While enjoying the fact that for a much longer time than you personally have been alive, the human body, not just yours personally, but the human body as it works, as it is built, knows this area to be rightfully one of breathing fully, longing deeply, running eagerly towards one's goals and loved ones and challenges and promises. For much longer than you have been alive in this particular body, the human body has known that this is an area that fires us up with, yes, a literal physical heart and an energetic one beating here, but in a real sense that you, because your body is made of the same stuff as human bodies have been for so long, can know without needing to refer back to books, records, or concepts. Now, know myself. Feel the aliveness and the exuberance of that bust line. The more you let yourself relax into this and truly trust the process, trust that you can just inhabit the chest area from within, the more you will feel things coming up and you may not want to even leave there. If right now in this run through you're feeling challenged to fully let yourself go and feel this, don't hesitate to return to this exercise at a later point. Replay it as many times as you wish. For now, however, gently allow your sensory awareness to sink inside your body all the way down, all the way down, all the way down to the chalice of the pelvis, the big pelvic bowl, the basin at the 15 level, the chalice of your pelvis. Feel what it is like to land with your awareness, your sensory presence, in that very different area from the chest that the pelvis is. Just land, land, land with sensory awareness, feeling the hip line, pelvic region from within, allowing the pelvic girdle to take up all the energetic space that it wishes and can take up at this moment. What a different universe this is from the one up in your chest. And yet, how deeply your body knows this one too. How deeply your body and your being know this area and what it was meant for, what it was built for, what it was created as from the very beginning. As natural as it is for the chest, for the bust line to move and look in all directions, for this, the pelvic bowl, the chalice, the basin, it is very natural to collect energy and stay and connect to what is here from staying. And just as you can feel that stability of staying and remaining and being truly present, feel the aliveness. Feel the aliveness that underlies and or lives at the center of this contained space, this contained weighted sensation. Maybe since you have been feeling hip line, the pelvis from within, you have found yourself sitting differently, releasing tension in the lower back perhaps, not needing or using the backrest quite so much perhaps. And just take a moment to feel into the following question without seeking a mental answer to it. If any images or bits and pieces of an answer come up for you, journal about them later, but don't let this be a mental attempt at answering the following question, which is, how would your life feel with more of this quality? More presence in this hip line, in this sense of presence to the moment. What would you feel like if more of your life had those rich, full moments? Oh, there are many kinds of rich and full moments, but this kind, not the rich, full moments of running eagerly towards something you are just discovering, but the rich, full moments of sitting at the center of the experience that is present now. And just as you let that question become a wondering that'll do its work inside of you, let's take sensory awareness so as not to let the mind play a trick on us. Let's take the sensory awareness up to the waistline. Feel the solar plexus, pit of stomach area from within. Feel waistline front and back. Now that you have felt the chest, bust line, and the pelvis, hip line, feel the area that floats between the two, between the bust line and the hip line. That level less clearly contained, and that depending on how you feel into it may even feel like it is floating between the top and the bottom. Allow a gentle movement to occur, perhaps. I'll withdraw, perhaps. Allow a gentle movement to occur. Allow a gentle movement in the middle to occur that allows the top of your body to be mobile against the bottom, that allows bust line to be mobile in relationship to hip line. and get a sense of what this area in your body, when left to its own devices and desires, is interested in. Are you finding it interested in what's above it? Are you finding it interested in what's below it? Do you find it interested in what lies in front of you, behind you? If you are feeling that 14's curiosity is being awakened by your feeling into it, and by my adding these questions, again, allow that to be translated into, or to translate into, increased movement in the midriff, in the middle of your torso. Just a gentle and natural movement, not one you have to make happen, and yet one that is every bit as ample and full as your body itself decrees. And then zoom out gently from the 14 area to include 13 and 15 bust line and hip line with your perception of waistline. Nice. When you can expand sensory awareness from the waistline to bust line and hip line, when you can feel all 3 levels connected through the middle, and play with that sensation as often as you feel drawn back to this exercise. And once you have a good sense of 13, 14, 15 of bust line, waistline and hip line, who you find yourself to be, which aspects of you and your story you discover in 13ness, where's the world? What's for me to discover? 15ness, here I am, here I really am. I am so deeply feeling this. I'm so deeply present to what's happening right now. And 14ness, I am interested in everything. I'm interested in connecting everything. I love the quiet below. I love the movement above. I love the fire and fertility below. I love the lightness and the spirit above. That love with everything that lies below and everything that lies above is often forgotten about 14 when we reduce it to just the mind and mean a nervous mind by that, and digestion and mean a heavy digestive tract by that. But the very desire to digest my life, my food, the information that I receive and learn, my very desire to digest is just this. I want to connect it all. From the subtlest to the densest, I want to just connect it all and be it all. So once you get more familiar with that being you, that being key to who you are, isn't it wonderful to know that when you listen to pulses with 3 fingers on each wrist in Jin Shin Jyutsu, your index fingers, middle fingers and ring fingers feel bust line, waistline, hip line respectively. Yeah? Bust line, waistline, hip line. I won't do the middle finger singled out again. And when it's index finger pulses that are talking to you, if you already know your 13 level, this part of the person is talking to me. If it's middle finger pulses, that part of the person. If it's ring finger pulses, that part of the person. That is one small part of the exciting journey of what pulses can tell us once we know how to put listening first and conceptualizing second or third or fourth or something. Right. So, thank you for joining this, and do go back to this exercise frequently. I will now shift to the questions I got for today and the feedback. Just a second to acknowledge a couple of things here. I've already told you I'm coming to you from Portugal. The internet connection has been pretty steady as far as I can tell, so good luck on that. You've probably heard my voice is doing funny things. I hope that's not distracting you too much. And the other thing, the setting sun is not behind me as it may seem when you look at that window, but actually in the window opposite me. So as that does its thing, I hope, again, it's not distracting you. And if I see on my screen here that it's the light's hitting me in funny ways, I'll change the setup. Right. So today I'm also including 2 comments that people have posted in the membership area in the study circle or in the Rediscovering Pulse Listening product with lifetime access. On the feeling and hands-on exercise, Taj commented, "This is a yummy-licious practice, as good as any of the meditations, which are also fabulous. Reminds me of the importance of the pause between the end of one and the beginning of the next in the quality of Safety Energy Lock 9. Also, it's becoming like a little brother practice to my main central practice." The feeling and hands-on exercise that this comment relates to invites one to listen to one's own pulses and then hold the corresponding part of a finger or all fingers. So these exercises that give direct feedback, you're listening to your own pulses, you're doing something, you're feeling how that changes the pulses, are of course very, very, very instructive in first making you realize, wow, this really does relate, and it does relate literally that way. And it sensitizes you more to what you are feeling and makes you less nervous about what your mind has to say about it. The mind is very, very happy to join a satisfied parade afterwards and say, wow, this makes such sense. Wow, this makes such sense. Wow, this is making sense. Rather than, wait, what sense does this make? Wait a minute, does this make sense? What am I supposed to feel? What am I supposed to understand from this? The mind, when it is well and you allow it to rest, is happy to say, I see, I get it, another 2 dots connecting. So this is what anyone can find as one of the feeling exercises in this 5-month journey of reimagining pulse listening. And Jana comments on another post, a post that says a summary and how to find other safety energy lock flows in the pulses. It's a post where we gently start synthesizing much of the information that we have so thoroughly learned to glean from the first 3 months, that now we can put a lot of information together. Bust line, waistline, hip line, of course, is 13 or 13 and 10, 14 or 14 and 9, 15 or 15 and 2. But there are more safety energy locks in their corresponding flows, and the chapter that goes into that, making it clear and obvious and sensible, as in something you can sense. Jana writes, wow, sacré résumé de tout ce que j'ai appris toutes ces années, meaning, what a summary of everything I've been learning all these years. So this is somebody who's an experienced practitioner and has had years of studying pulses and pulse information. And thank you, Jana, for sharing that enthusiastic feedback that it's actually summing something up and rounding something up. Because, there's so much in this. that is bringing it together in, only 5 months, but such a concise and complete format that I believe that even if you have a lot of experience with pulse listening already, you'll discover a lot in here that makes pulse listening both much easier and so much more fun, and also so much more practical to remember. So on we go with Taj, who sends appreciation first. Thank you for the structure of this pulse class, she writes. I could not have handled the information of lesson 4 without the toing, width, and persistence you held us to in the first 3 lessons. The toing, this is language I often use, when I use safety energy locks as verbs or adjectives or nouns. So toing means going into a quality of 2, of safety energy lock 2, of being vast and open and being and offering a space where things can simply fall into place. Meaning, Taj continues, those chapters 1, 2, and 3 created the container and structure of experience to receive the data in lesson 4. Daily, I'm delighted with new understandings. Thank you for the structure of this pulse class. I could not have handled the information of lesson 4 without the toing, width, and persistence you held us to in the first 3 lessons. Meaning those chapters 1, 2, and 3 created the container and structure of experience to receive the data in lesson 4. Daily, I am delighted with new understandings and experience, instead of quitting in frustration and overwhelm. At the same time, and you see, Taj, that's exactly the motivation for me to have created this course. I find that so many, even long-time students of Jin Shin Jyutsu, quit pulse listening in frustration or leave it aside, and frustration and overwhelm is generally what they speak about. It's just too much information. They can't make sense of it. They're also insecure of whether they're feeling the right thing. So, to understand that this is not a question you can be asking yourself. If you want to get better at feeling things, you cannot ask yourself, what am I supposed to feel? You must be asking yourself, what am I feeling? Because the other question is absurd. So you cannot go down the right road with, what am I supposed to feel? Being supposed to feel something, what am I supposed to say, makes a certain sense in some contexts. What am I supposed to think? What am I supposed to deduce from this? Are questions one can sensibly ask, but not what am I supposed to feel. It just doesn't make sense. And that's an easy understanding once you get it, but it's very, very understandable that given the schooling many of us have received, this is news to us in the beginning. Right. At the same time, Taj continues, I'm recognizing the foundation I got from your 15-month organ function energy class and the weakness I'm having from missing the 33-month foundation course, which I'm slowly going through. It's hard to do 2 of your courses at the same time. Yes, I get that, Taj. Yes, of course it all gets richer if you have it all, but in my humble opinion, the order in which you go through it doesn't matter that much. Conceivably, we could always think, if I knew more than I know right now, I'd get even more benefit out of what I'm learning currently. But so, yeah, if you find that the input from the foundational 33 months and this right now don't marry easily or comfortably, feel free to just stay with the current material for now and trust that it'll still enrich what you're learning now when you learn that other stuff later. At this time, I'd also like to mention that despite your rigorous study and experience of over 40 years, you consistently tread the artistic line of empowering me, the student, to stand in my own knowing, my own experience. Rare to find someone with both expertise in a subject area and expertise in the ability to open that knowing in someone else. I truly appreciate it more than these few words can say, but I'll say thank you anyway. Thank you. That moves me deeply. And that is, of course, what motivates me to do my work in the first place. This month I had the occasion to interact with people with strong divisive opinions. The next day I found myself ruminating in imaginary conversations and planning how to best protect myself next time. At the same time I started reviewing Safety Energy Logs 2 and 3 from Foundation 1 video. Just placing early hands on my iliac crest, that's the rim of the pelvis, opened such a space in me. I could literally feel my angst melt and ease pour back into my life and breathing open up. What a good reminder to have these lessons in my library. And in the context of this Pulse course, that experience of the reality of two really helped my understanding of the data about hip line and how the unmanifest safety energy lock level contributes to the manifesting organ function energy level. That's something we go into in great depth, by the way, for those of you who are not in the course in this month, and continue with that next month a bit as well. As a result, presently there's a sense of awe for kidney and umbilicus organ function energy and immense gratitude for the essence of Safety Energy Lock 2. Good timing. Plus, as a result of this experience-based knowing, I'm calling on my life experiences of an open 10 and an open 9 to make all the bust line, waistline, hip line data real for me. So number 10, for those of you who might not know, is on the bust line at the back. Number 9 is waistline at the back. And number 2 is hip line at the back side of the body. So it's 13, 14, 15 in the front, but it's 10, 9, 2 in the back. Know myself, help myself, moving from a pretty concept to a practical reality. Ha. All right, on to this month's question. I'm playing with, still Taj's questions, I'm playing with bust line, waistline, hip line and the joints on my fingers based on what I'm hearing in the pulse. So much fun, and someday I hope for a course from you on everything fingers and hands. Since starting this pulse course, I pay attention to the pulses when holding fingers, like I do when I'm holding a safety energy lock. But the fingers are not safety energy locks, so what are they? Is it still considered jumper cabling when I hold my fingers? Absolutely yes. Absolutely yes. There is this famous quote from Jiro Murai, who allegedly said to Mary as she departed Japan, there will come a day, Mary, when you will only work with fingers and go right to the appropriate place on the appropriate finger for anything. Mary used to share this in her 5-day classes and say, well, for me that day hasn't come yet. But she would insist that everything was in the fingers and that we could jumper cable every aspect of our being through the fingers. So there is a lot to be said, but I, like she, have not gotten to the point where I would say I just go to fingers for anything and everything. And Jiro didn't either. So yes, it's jumper cabling when we hold fingers, and I guess it's safe to say that the fingers do represent all layers of our being and all areas of our body. B. Could you speak about how harmonizing with finger joints is different from harmonizing with safety energy locks or organ function energies? Well, especially now, since there's a new understanding about unmanifest and manifesting levels, well, the top 1/3 of each finger, as you will find in Self-Help Book 2, is related to bust line, right? To the top 1/3 of the body. The middle 1/3, so that would be the digit each time, right? It's related to waistline, and the bottom digit, the bottom 1/3, is related to hip line. So the joints themselves are actually related to the joints in the body in a different relationship. Those of you who live in the United States or a country that uses this image for the yellow pages. Anybody remember what the yellow pages are or were before the days of the internet? Let your fingers do the walking was the advert in the United States for the yellow pages. Let your fingers do the walking instead of... So anyway, this idea of using fingers as legs, which we do in child's play too, helps you remember that the top joint on any finger relates to the hip joint, and once you remember this as a hip joint, you can remember that to also relate to the shoulder joint. This then would be your knee joint and also the elbow joint, and this at the bottom would be the ankle joint and therefore also the wrist. Okay, so that's that relationship. And my experience with, and I'm sure there's a lot more to it, my experience with joints is that they tend to clear, I was going to say on a very physical level, but let me qualify that they really clear residue out of the body. They clear residue out of the joints in the body, but they clear residue, things that have densified and gotten kind of layered into the physical body, materialized, solidified into the physical body. That's an explanation on the difference between the digits and the joints. And as I continue reading Taj's question, this is the next question, some practical questions, but it continues right on this, in this vein. The other night, my pulse was calling for waistline attention from first depth, superficial and deep, and third depth, superficial only. If I wanted to support a waist and first depth request via my hands, one option I made up is I could do the extended finger flow for first depth, thumb, middle, and little fingers, and attend to the middle part of the finger, right? Is it the joint or the flat part of the finger? Well, I answered that bit, right? It would be the digit, the middle digit of the finger. In theory. Now, does that mean that if you feel drawn to the joint, you shouldn't work with the joint? Of course not. It can never mean that in the context of an art that is so based on you feeling into what's there in the moment, right? Do I hold the whole finger attending to a particular section or just the one section? That's another interesting thing. So to clarify this, if I mean to harmonize the middle section of, say, my middle finger, do I hold the whole middle finger and just let my sensory awareness or attention go to the middle digit? Or do I just hold the middle digit? This is entirely up to you, but it isn't arbitrary. So you make that decision based on what feels smoothest and easiest and most appropriate in the moment. I tend to find it more satisfying to go and just hold that particular section of the finger. But you know, if in your example, first depth and third depth show up, if I really want to get deeply into the depth as a whole, then I would hold the entire finger. The fact that it's showing up on the waistline pulses wouldn't necessarily make me assume that waistline is what's calling to me. Do you know what I mean? If I am listening to pulses and I'm feeling drawn to the depths, then I work with the depths. If I am listening to pulses and I am drawn to the bust lineness of it all, or the waist lineness of it all, or the ring finger lineness of it all, then I work with that by going to the corresponding level on the finger. So I hope that's clear, because it's something we've been going through gently month after month after month, that there are so many ways you could interpret things, and there isn't a systematic hierarchy of interpretation that makes any sense. Not if you're applying Jin Shin Jyutsu as an art. So that's why I led such a long exercise of feeling into bust line, waistline, hip line, and then connected it to this. If it's like, this part of who that person is and what that person's about is speaking to me, let me attend to that. Or it's my this I know about my 13ness that's crying out to me for help, then I would go with this. Oh, it's my processing of life, my rumination of life that's crying out to me, then I would go with this section. Oh, it's my stomach and spleen function, I need to land, I need to feel I have solid earth to stand on, then I go for the depth itself. Yeah, that was first depth, and same for third depth, etc. So what is it that you feel most resonance with in the moment that you're hearing the pulses? That would inform my choice in that context. As I told you earlier, we have the setting sun opposite me, and you're now seeing it do funny things on my face. What difference does top or bottom make? Top and bottom, I guess by top and bottom you mean back side of hand and palm side of hand. On yet another level, the ascending energy up the back, down the front is a concept that most everyone on this call will be familiar with. So the back, when you hold the back side of the hand, that emphasizes ascending energy. When you hold the front side, palm side of the hand, that emphasizes descending energy. Good. That's that. We're going to go over, because I haven't gotten to Michal's questions yet, with all the interruptions we have had. Where is the middle joint of the thumb? Well, it doesn't have one, but in the way Mary illustrates it, there's the same 3 lines going through the thumb. So the thumb is... There are different ways of looking at it. Look at the illustration itself for book 3 and see how you read it. It could be read that she is cutting the thumb, these 2 digits, in 3 even levels, or that she is actually including the base digit of the thumb in that division into 3. Again, I wouldn't get too formal on that and just follow my feeling on that. I must say that when I work with the 3 levels on the corresponding digits, I tend to focus on the 4 fingers, where that's clearly available. I have one more pulse-related question, but I think that will be better served in live interactive call next week. Well, I'm really looking forward to that live interactive call, and I hope that when this is the time when members of the study circle and members of the 5-month journey of rediscovering pulse listening join me on camera live, so we had better have a much better internet connection than today for that. But yeah, it is such fun to talk directly, and because of what that requires, this is something I'm not recording and making public to anyone but the members in the study circle and the pulse journey. Right, and that call for any member who's watching this now is indeed Wednesday of next week, all right? But you have that notification in your email probably, and certainly in Kajabi communities. Off-topic curiosity, in the gallbladder function energy course, you said the sacrum is home to 3rd depth. What does home mean in this context? Or do I have to wait for the course starting this September to find this out? With feelings of abundance, Taj. No, you don't have to wait until September. September is probably when we will start a course on the depths, but not in that way. It's going to be called The Life We Miss, because we will look at the depths as essential parts of our aliveness that we all remember, essential parts of our aliveness that we deeply and sorely miss when we cannot get access to them, and essential parts of our aliveness that we find ourselves so relieved to get back in touch with when they show up again. So I'm saying probably that'll start in September if August doesn't show that we need another month for pulse discussion, for pulse questions that may have come up. But I'm pretty confident that in September we can start. So the sacrum is simply where, well, the tip of the coccyx is where gallbladder function energy connects to the central line of the body or to the main central energy flow. There are different opinions about this. To me, it doesn't much matter whether it's one or the other. And a little higher up on the sacrum, liver function energy connects to the central energetic line of the body where the main central flows. So a reconnection of third depth on organ function energy level to grand central sixth depth energy supply happens in that area. It is in that sense that this is home to third depth. And with that, I thank you, Taj, and I thank everyone who is still hanging in patiently as I get to Michal's comment and question. Thanks again for the way you're sharing your insights. I'm thoroughly enjoying this course. I had to smile to myself because at some point in the series you had asked us to listen to our pulses and I had written down my question. This was literally 1 minute before you articulated the self-same question as one that you are often asked, namely, if you are being called by pulses on both superficial and deep levels, how to know when to choose the associated safety energy lock, unmanifest flow, or an organ function, manifesting flow. After many years of study, I'm either more ready and able to hear the answer, or you're speaking it in a new way that I've never heard before. But it feels like so many dots were connected for me in that answer. I'm so glad to hear it. I'm still marveling at the magic of it all and wonder why I've taken so long to get it in such a shiningly clear way. Thank you. Well, the specifics of how the unmanifest relates to the manifesting is something I've been wording more clearly in recent months. And I think what prevented me from wording it quite so clearly in earlier years is that I was still insisting so heavily on, hello people, wake up, organ function energy is not the manifested, the manifest, the physical body level. It isn't. It's the manifesting, the manifesting level. It's the body that is constantly manifesting a body. It's constantly, so anyway, once perhaps I got a little more relaxed about emphasizing that point quite so strongly, or once I realized that people would get it in their own time and my insistence wasn't making it any better, I guess I sort of relaxed a little bit more into, so what does it very specifically mean to me? The unmanifest versus the manifesting that is translating into action, you know, the basic feeling of, life is ample, too. And then the specific, now how do I translate this into action, into the way I show up in life, into the way I act in life? That's what we're going into. And yeah, that's the wording, the presentation of that has changed recently. So thank you. We're always growing together. My question is, Michal continues, if you would please talk a little more about what you hear when the wrist pulses feel harmonized. I recognize that the silky sixth depth texture signifies harmony, perhaps momentary. And I've also heard that the pulse in the left wrist leads. What? I'm not sure of. Is there any significance to which fingers you hear the sixth depth texture on? Is it one, a few, all? And does it matter how loud or soft it is? Or is it the same principle you've been discussing? See where your attention is being drawn to and go with that. Thank you very much, Michal. Yeah, well, sort of all of the above. Yes, of course, always go to where your attention is drawn, but for the most part, I find that pulse textures, when that's what's dominant, will show up in pretty much all the fingers, or tend to show up in more than one finger. That tends to, because pulse textures talk to us about where a person is on a vibratory level. People are rarely in different places at the same time on a vibratory level. You know, all kinds of things can be going on a manifesting level as well. You know, that's the reality of one organ may be doing just fine and another organ may be having a difficult time, or you may be doing very, very well on creating a healthy relationship, but your relationship to material abundance in this life is more challenged. You know, just real life examples that any of us could think of by the dozens. But you are rarely in two minds about the moment. You are rarely both in a very dreamy place and in a very fiery place all at once. You are rarely, to get back to sixth depth, in a place of feeling complete about life and fulfilled, and yet not, you know. So when I hear sixth depth pulses, though, I would tend to hear them under all fingers, and it means harmony that could be temporary. You know, for now I'm fine, for now I'm complete, for now all is well. Or it could be more permanent, and more permanent doesn't mean everything is okay in the way a planning and demanding mind wants it to be. All is well does not mean all is running according to plan, as far as the plan of a planning mind is concerned. All is well means that whether things are going uphill or whether my vitality is increasing or gently fading out, all is well when I am in rhythm with what's having its time in my life right now. When that is where I am, then sixth depth, I am reminded of the experience of a practitioner in Dallas that many of you out there had the privilege, I'm sure, of knowing. He was the organizer in Dallas for many decades, and Bill Thames was a wonderful and accomplished Jin Shin Jyutsu practitioner who shared the story of listening to the pulses of a person very close to him, a family member whom he attended to, came to visit him. That this family member came to visit him for a week or so in Dallas, and he worked on him every day, or maybe twice every day. And at the end of the week, the pulses were the most beautiful and harmonious and even and silky pulses he had ever heard on anyone. Not weak, just quiet. They had a tone to them. They weren't fading out. And the next morning, this person had passed away. And to me, that is just such a potent illustration of all is wellness. You know, this peaceful passing is as much an expression of all is well as it would be if the next day, that person had gotten up saying, I'm feeling so much better than I have in months. So that's my answer on the sixth depth pulses. And with that, I can only thank you all once again for your presence and your patience and your perseverance. And I will see those of you who are members on our live call next week, Wednesday, I believe it's the 26th of July, 2023. And I'll see everyone else next month in August for our gathering and Q&A. Have a lovely evening all. And if you're interested in more of my offerings, online or off, go to these pages where you can also sign up for my newsletter in any of the languages that interest you.